The money you make is a symbol of the value you create. If you're very observant, you would have noticed that the world is experiencing a kind of crisis. But one thing is shooting upward, the value of the dollar. Despite all what is happening, the dollar seems to defy all logic because around 50% of all international trade is invoiced in the dollar. And a stronger dollar affects consumers all over the world, especially for Africans that pay with dollar for imports. Hello, yeah, welcome to my platform. I'm Ifeanyi Chikwani, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about why currencies in Africa are struggling against the dollar. To be honest, it is not just Africa that is feeling the pain of a strong dollar. The Great Britain pound has gone to the lowest point since 1985. The Japanese yen is at its lowest point since 1998. And in August 2022, the euro has dropped below parity against the dollar for the very first time. And you know what? The Europeans control 14 African countries that make use of this cipher. I want to share a video with you, just watch it to the end.
Questo si chiama franco CFA. È la moneta coloniale che la Francia stampa per 14 nazioni africane alle quali applica il signoraggio e in forza delle quali sfrutta le risorse di questa nazione. Questo è un bambino che lavora in una miniera d'oro in Burkina Faso. Il Burkina Faso è una delle nazioni più povere del mondo. Per il Burkina Faso, che ha l'oro, la Francia stampa moneta coloniale. In cambio pretende che finiscano nelle casse del tesoro francese il 50% di tutto quello che il Burkina Faso esporta. L'oro che questo bambino si infila in un cunicolo per tirare fuori finisce per lo più nelle casse dello Stato francese. Allora la soluzione non è prendere gli africani e spostarli in Europa. La soluzione è liberare l'Africa da certi europei che la sfruttano e consentire a queste persone di vivere di quello che hanno.
I believe you watched the previous video on how Europe is working very well to keep us on our knees. But why is the dollar going up? There are two reasons. The US Federal Reserve implemented a monetary policy that increased interest rates that is more than the central banks in other major economies. Number two, the fact that the dollar is seen as a traditionally safe haven asset by investors, we strengthen the dollar. I mean, most Africans watching this video would rather save their money in dollar than save in their local currencies. You know what? You're also helping to keep the dollar strong. Now, let's talk about African countries whose currencies have depreciated by at least 20% since 2020. The number one country here is the Zimbabwe. The Zimbabwean dollar is the worst performing currency in Africa. The number two is the Sudanese pound and South Sudanese pound. Those are the two worst performing currencies in Africa. And then the number three is the Nigerian naira. The Nigerian naira is the third worst performing currency in Africa and the 11th worst in the world. The number four is the Ghana cedi. For the past 2 years, the Ghanaian cedi has lost 40% of its value, and that is very terrible. We have seen the list of struggling currencies in Africa and those behind it. But here are 5 reasons why these things are happening. Number one, there is a commodity market slump in Africa. Commodity exports makes up a huge chunk of our major source of revenue. We export zinc, iron ore, aluminium, coking, coal, thermal coal to China. And China, being our largest consumers, just recently reduced their demand. And as such, that's reduced our revenue. Number two is there's trouble in Europe this year. Europe is in turmoil and it's affecting the international market. The number three is the slump in oil price. Since 1986, the price of crude oil has never gone as low as it has gone now. And this is affecting most of the oil producing countries in Africa, so that it affects their budget. In fact, Nigeria dipped into their foreign reserve to use it to pay debt and do all that stuff. The number four is the depreciation of the yuan. On August 11, 2015, the Japanese government made a rare move to depreciate their currency in order to actually make export cheaper for themselves and also protect local industries. African countries adopted that policy. Now it's haunting us. The fifth is the poor fiscal policy. In Africa, debt is growing faster than the economy. In fact, the policies in most central banks in Africa has never been effective in cushioning the effect of debt on the economy. As such, the currencies will always bear the brunt. And finally, the solution to all this is first, sub-Saharan African countries should adopt the eco policy of one currency, just like Europe did. Having a single currency for all African countries is the smartest move we will ever take in order to keep our currency stable. And it's also a great move in the right direction because it's going to help us in regional development, and also this inter-Africa trade we're about to start. I believe I've been able to make you understand why currencies are crumbling in Africa. Kindly like, share, and subscribe. If you have any objection, I would want to see it in the comment section. Catch you up next week. Bye.